Hi everyone, my name is Ron, and I have the dumbest parents in the world. Yes, that's not a nice thing to say, but now that you've heard all the details, you'll understand why I say that. So come on, who has called their parents' names at least once in their lives? Oh no, I'm not urging you to do it, but just let me know. Just don't be too obvious about it. Maybe just give me a plus sign down in the comments below if you've ever done that before, okay? Here we go. Anyway, I lived in a family as the fifth extra. Yeah, the fifth extra. There were 5 kids in the family, including me, and my dad, mum, grandma, and grandpa. In short, a whole bunch of us. My parents were working, but there wasn't enough money anyway, because there were a lot of kids and 2 people to work with. Well, just so you understand, we were all adopted children. Yes, our parents didn't have any birth parents, so they recruited from the orphanage. Like a pancake in a mart. We were all from different institutions, different ages, and even races. No, I would not say that anyone was deprived of anything. We all wore each other's clothes, shared food, and responsibilities in the house. Sometimes, though, we really wanted to have our own room, our own clothes, and at least some money to go out with friends. We didn't have that opportunity. Dad and Mum did their best. They didn't let on that they were having a hard time, even when they were sick. But one day my grandmother got sick in the family. That was our mother's mother. She was really worried about it, and we were looking for a way out. Mum, don't worry, Grandma will get better, you'll see. I hope so, son. Thank you, but I don't know. Her treatment is expensive, and we barely have enough money to live on. We'll figure something out. Thank you, Ron. You're the smartest one I've got. You're not the oldest kid in the family for nothing. But things weren't getting any better. Grandma needed more and more treatment. And my parents were already taking overtime at work. Brothers and sisters asked what they could do to help, but nothing, because they were too young. So I went looking for a living. One night I came home late at night, and I saw my mother crying. She wouldn't tell me what was wrong, and told me to go to bed. I hid and overheard them talking to my dad. It turned out that a neighbour had come to see them today. She had heard about the situation and suggested a way out, to give some of the children back to the boarding school or for adoption. The mother turned her away, but she insisted, saying she had a sister who wanted a child but could not adopt and give birth herself. She offered to give the eldest one to her parents. I'm not giving any of the children to them. You're right, they are our children and we love them. Especially her sister. Have you seen her? She's mentally retarded. That's why they don't give them children for adoption. On the other hand, it's hard for us now, but we'll figure something out. And that night we all woke up to a siren. Grandma was hospitalized. She got worse and there was no face on Mum. She was so out of it that we got scared. The next day, I went to visit that neighbour and asked to see her sister. Oh, Ron, you'll like her. She and Will are very kind. You'll love them. Are your parents okay with it? They don't have a choice. You're the smartest, so I suggested you. The neighbour failed to mention one very important fact, that these people were actually mentally retarded. That is, they were both sick. They went out on the porch, and for a long time, they didn't know where to push to get the door open. The 2 adults with childish brains and strange facial expressions did open the door, and they smiled at the sight of me. The woman began to hug and call me son. I was shocked. I was fucking scared and uncomfortable, but I realised that this is the real way out to help my family. The neighbour said she would take care of my family, quickly closed the door, and left me there with them. The whole house was filthy. Everything was out of place. I have no idea how the 2 of them lived together with such diagnosis. And then it turned out that once a day, a free servant came at the expense of the stay and cooked for them, cleaned and did their laundry. They gave me a room. At least thank you for that. It was still creepy, but I put up with it. Eventually, after a couple of hours sitting in the room, I came out for dinner. The 2 of them were sitting in front of the refrigerator, holding the remote, as if they were switching channels. They were laughing, and I was fucking creeped out. I picked them up, sat them down at the table, and heated the food. By the way, I had never seen such an abundance of food before. I'm not Rio, I'm Ron. Rio. They laughed and I set the table. I rearranged the TV programs. The ones they liked best were the kids' channels with cartoons. They enjoyed watching it and laughing. They could stick the remote in the freezer, turn on the stove, and walk away. They could take their hairdryer into the bathroom. I still didn't understand how they were still even alive. Sometimes a neighbour would come over and visit them. I wanted to go home so badly. My mother called, but I said I would stay here for now, like I liked everything. I lasted like that for 2 weeks. Every day some kind of joke. They could lock me in the bathroom or a room, or shut the house and take me out on the road to dance. They couldn't read, couldn't write, they were illiterate. It was awfully hard to communicate with them, so I didn't talk. After a couple of weeks, I got bored. I wanted to visit my real relatives, and I told my new parents that I was going to visit. My mum cried like a baby. I had to give her chips, and while she ate them, I took off. An hour later, I was in my own home. Everyone was crying when they saw me. I spent literally 20 minutes there, and then I remembered that I had forgotten the bag of groceries I had made for my siblings. I wanted them to try the goodies too. I wasn't lazy and drove home, but as soon as I got to the door, I noticed it was open. It was strange because we usually didn't lock it during the day because of the maids and social workers. I went in with my keys, and the first thing I saw was that there was a movie on TV. Dad and Mum were not sitting on the floor as usual, but on the couch. Dad was lying there eating popcorn, and Mum was drinking wine and had her legs over him. I was in the back. They didn't even hear me. Dave, we should get a TV upgrade. I want a bigger one, don't you think? I like your idea, Mary. Where's the next sponsorship? In a couple of days, just as they found out we had a baby, and now they're going to increase both the allowance and the charity. Some people bring food. I'm sick of shrimp. Yeah, me too. I wish they'd just give us money. It's all thanks to you, my genius. That's a clever thing to come up with. The legend that we went crazy, but still loved each other. But we do love each other. What about the little guy? As long as they bring him money, let him live, and then send him away somewhere. We'll say that, but we won't say anything. We kind of lost our minds. What's going on here? The folks weren't expecting it. They both turned around and didn't know how to react. And then my mum screamed and cried like a baby. There was confusion in their eyes. And then I realised that I had caught their tail and this was my chance. So, you're stupidly taking advantage of me. And how many sponsors do you have? Okay, Ron, let's talk about this. No way. I've been wiping after you for 3 weeks. Let's be clear. Either I turn you in or you give me the sponsor money. My family is starving and sick. That's no good. Then do it this way. I press the button now and the video goes viral on YouTube. Okay? No! Wait, how much do you want? That's it. You're still fine. Upgrade your TV next month. I told you, take the younger child. What a blackmailer you got. And you're a crook. The hell with you. It's a deal. But as long as you're here, you're not going anywhere. I'll play along if you give me the money. That's the deal. They gave me a decent amount of money and I was able to use it to pay for my grandmother's treatment. I stayed with them for a couple of weeks and then left, keeping the secret as promised. I don't know if I did the right thing, but I had a noble goal. Then I went back home, and when the summer vacation started, my siblings and I got into babysitting for the neighbours' old people. It brought in a good income, but most importantly, I was home. A neighbour would come by with questions, but my mother would chase her away. And as for those parents, well, they adopted a baby, only this time a younger one, and he had a nanny to look after him. And those two, who had cheated the whole town, went on to play the circus and enjoy what they were given. It's a fairy tale, isn't it? But I still couldn't do it that way. What would you do if you were me?
Hi there, my name is Eliza. I had a huge shock not so long ago, and it made me really nervous. It's all about my sister, or rather the fact that my parents deprived me and left me with nothing. This is so unfair. I think you understand me, because many of my friends also do not get along very well with their brothers and sisters, but I have a slightly different case, because we are not related. Well, in general, now I will tell you everything in more detail. While you watch, do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to write your opinion under the video. I'll read them all. As I said, I have a sister, and she is my half-sister. How did this happen? I was born the only child in the family. We have never been very poor. On the contrary, I always got everything I wanted. My parents spared no expense on me, but in return, they both worked hard and spent almost no time with me. At first, I was worried about this, but then I got used to it and even found advantages in the fact that they were not around. They bought me everything. No birthday or Christmas passed without me getting gifts. When I grew up, the amount of expenses increased. And so, on the last recent holiday, they gave me the car that I asked for. Yes, I was very happy. We were going to get together after Christmas and celebrate the holiday properly. Our maid prepared the food, I dressed up and waited for my parents for dinner. The doorbell rang in the house. I ran to open it in joy and saw a girl I didn't know. She was a little older than me, and she looked cocky and overconfident. I didn't like the look of her, so I asked her what she wanted, and she came into the house, sat down at the table, took off her gloves, and introduced herself. "My name is Ariana. I'm your sister," she said. These words sounded like a threat, and I thought it was some kind of stupid joke. It can't be, because I was the only one in the family. I told her to get the hell out of there to avoid trouble with the police, and then she said she wasn't going anywhere, that her father would come and explain everything. Then the doorbell rang and my parents came in. They reacted to Ariana as if they had known her for a long time. I realized that I was about to have a long, unpleasant conversation. My father kissed us, my mother sat down next to me, and they told me that Ariana would now live with us because she was my half-sister. Her mother recently died due to illness, so now she will live with us because she is my father's daughter. I gave my mother a surprised look, and she looked as if she'd accepted the news long ago and wasn't even the least bit embarrassed. I was so angry. What kind of right does she have to just barge into my house and pump my license? Ariana began to eat and then said that now she would choose a room for herself and she moved in next to me. The staff brought her suitcases and I realized that this is really not a prank, that this is real. My spirits sank at once. I asked my father how it happened, and he said that he used to be married, that my mother is his second marriage and she knew about it perfectly well. In short, only I did not know. As soon as I imagined that I would now have to see her face every day, I felt sick. But it turned out that the worst was yet to come. Somehow a week passed, we kept bumping into each other in the bathroom. She spent hours making up, washing, and it bothered me. In general, I tried to pretend that she wasn't there. She didn't want to talk to me either. Ariana would kind of accidentally push me. I always did stuff in return. She came to my school and tried to get all the attention. She wagged her tail in front of all our boys at school, pretended to be pretty in front of the teachers and my friends. They even doubted at some point that she was so bad, as I said. She managed to be the best in her class, but not in mine. I didn't let her. A second week passed, then a month. I shared this news with my friends and they just sympathized. Well, after Christmas, my father gathered us all together again for dinner, and there was another conversation to be had. I was sitting in a bad mood and sarcastically asked, "Is there another child behind the door?" My father obliquely looked at me and then told me that now in their business with Mother, there are big difficulties and risk, and it would be necessary to temporarily transfer part of the property to someone. And I assumed it would be to me because I was the rightful heir. "We will transfer your fortune to Ariana and then return it back," he said, adding that these were necessary measures. What? You want to leave me with nothing? I was indignant, and a sly smile spread on Ariana's face. My parents immediately tried to calm me down, but I didn't even want to listen. You see, Ariana is already of age. She has no loans, no debts, and she has almost nothing to do with our family. It still didn't calm me down. Can't my parents see how mean and cunning she is? How can they trust her that much? But Mom and Dad wouldn't even listen. The very next day, a lawyer came to us and they gave my entire fortune to her. I was ready to explode. And Ariana was even more smug. I said through my teeth that I wouldn't let them take everything away from me. So she whispered, "I've already taken everything," and then went to her room. She then took the keys to my car and said that it was hers now too. My father didn't even want to hear about conflicts. He insisted that we should be friends with each other. But I didn't need such a nasty sister. And what do you think happened next? After a couple of weeks, we had strange purchases in the house. She ordered new furniture, sold my car, and bought another one. Ariana did not deny herself anything. But why did I see everything and my parents didn't? In the end, I asked for help from a lawyer, hired him for the rest of my money, and he said that everything was legal and that nothing could be done. Now Ariana is the official owner of everything that was mine. I cried nonstop, My mother just said it was temporary, but I didn't believe them. And while Ariana spent my money, I did not understand how I would continue to live. And then a letter came to us. I saw it first. It was addressed to Ariana. It turned out to be from a lady. I opened it and found out that her mother was actually alive, that she moved to live in a neighboring city and is waiting for her daughter. Can you imagine? They decided to pull off such a scam. I immediately took the letter to my father at work. Dad saw it, read it, and said nothing but, "Go home." I came home outraged and upset, ready to kill my sister. In the evening, some people came to us. They signed something, discussed it, and Dad said that their capital was empty. And then they left, taking something in an envelope. It seemed to me that my whole world had collapsed. I sat down in the room and stupidly sobbed. I was now basically homeless. Then Ariana, Dad, and Mom came into my room. They started to calm me down, and Ariana said, "Calm down. Can I take my fee now?" she asked. My father handed her the same envelope as the other people, and she signed it and kissed me. "Don't worry, they'll explain everything to you," she said, and left. In general, it turned out that she was a hired actress who was supposed to play my father's daughter for the tax service. In general, I didn't quite understand this business, but she left my inheritance to me and left. Business improved, the case turned out well. I almost went crazy from such a circus. Well, what wouldn't you do for business, right?